Oh man, very unusual. Oof, that was creepy. Welcome back to another episode of We Are VR Troopers. Last time, the story is actually split into two parts. One was actually Cheetah, who went on the infiltration into the Ziktor Industries, as well as taking Galileo, Gangrene, and Bones Jackson along the way. They dealt with a few Skugs, and once again, due to Cheetah's amazing ability, leaving them vulnerable, they were actually defeated, and Galileo was on its way to process all the information while also draining the prism of power, to which Grimlord uses whenever he enters virtual reality. And on another note, Caitlin and JB, along with Bloodclot and Snake, have actually infiltrated the Sky Base, Colonel Icebot's Sky Base. While there, they dealt with a few techies, which were operated defensively while the offense took care of the war, as well as the reinforcement teams. So they were actually able to defeat Icebot. However, he began a self-destruct mechanism, destroying him along with his sky castle and the troopers and the mutants with it. Will they escape in time? Well, let's find out. Alright, episode 98, Nerves of Steel. And I have a pretty good feeling this is going to be a long one, so be patient. Ryan and Razor Kid stopped short as they heard a familiar whirring noise as well as seeing a scary sight. They came across more of those sinister honing heads they encountered earlier at the virtual cave, as well as the neighboring muddy home of the Vile Vulgars, the Hump Dome, before they self-destructed several months back. Again, if you've seen Quest of Power, you should know this. These floating heads activated as their yellow-piercing eyes flashed on and searched out the troopers' energy. They remembered that if they exploded however they did, then Ryan's power would be sapped as well, resulting in a recoil. It was indeed confirmed as he was being too cocky with his newer, stronger powers fighting them off, resulting in a few damaging explosions to his VR armor. I hate these things! More of them emerged without any signs of stopping. They had the same effect as before, and seeing his friend get hurt badly with every blow, Kid was about to lose it. No! All the dark memories rushed back to him as quick as his boiling blood flow, including enduring the destruction of the virtual dungeon. He tried to repress these nightmares, squeezing his eyes shut as he held his head in horror. Then he repeated a mantra. Ryan never gives up. Ryan finds a way. Till a powerful epiphany struck him like being tackled by a bunch of bulky trolls. Ryan finds a way! Suddenly, as he was still clashing with the barrage, Ryan! Switch into your retro form! Hurry! What? But I'll be vulnerable! Quick, turn back! If you don't use your virtual powers, then they won't have any effect on you. Or, at least they'll be minimal. But if I lose my powers again, I would. Just do it! Trust me! But keep an eye on your virtualizer, though. Reluctantly, he did just that. Razor Kid told him to find a place to hide and take cover. The dragon saw more of these creepy death masks activating and heading toward the frantic duo. Go! Hide! Right now! Go now! Ryan obliged and watched Kid confront them. Rumble Fumble! 5 active long red grenades appeared on the alien's back, hidden away by rows of spikes. He held one in his tight, quaking hand. All right, Grimlord, time to have a taste of your own viral medicine. I will strip away your powers. He threw one onto a floating specter face and they exploded on contact. Looking at Ryan's virtualizer, the damage was still in effect, but somehow it minimized as it flashed. Kid continued his rage on the remaining heads. Eventually, the coast was clear and Kid gave the signal. His partner came out wondering if his plan really worked. He was afraid that his virtualizer would be more fragile from the onslaught they put on it. He gazed on it and Kid mentioned, maybe you should turn back and survey the damage done to it. Okay. Trooper transform! We are VR! It activated and he examined himself after the sequence was complete. How is it, Rye? Well, I feel like I've taken a few blows, but I think I'm okay. By the way, how did you know that could work? I didn't. But I did remember what you told me of what your dad said to you, that the mind goes first and the body comes second. You know, just play little tricks or something. I just figured this would be a good strategy, and I don't want us to get maimed and to have you lose your powers again. Ryan said that was the smartest thing Kid have ever done. Really? Mutant was caught off guard by the remark. He said if it wasn't for him, he would have been back in the troubled position he was in before. And that was what Kid dreaded the most. After all, they needed everything they have to finish off Grimlord. Okay, you got a deal there. Give each other a tight handshake and we're off again. Ha! You see that Mr. Rules Everything? We are smarter than you! Go ahead and make more of your abysmal traps! You don't stand a chance! Bring it on! I was born ready to deal with your lousy schemes! Give us the best you got, which is nothing! Come at me, bro! Ah! All of a sudden, Kid's feet went still, and they were shocked to the core as an electric current licked them. Ryan rushed to the side, but he persuaded him to not get any closer. He suspected it was an electrocution, trap made by the techies. It was brief, but it hurt as badly as a porcupine's spines. Just then a robot with a wide body and skinny limbs marched up to them. Kid identified it as the techies' coach, Trans Shooter. He made the usual chirp like the other techies, only it was accompanied by digital voice. Too bad for you, Mr. Steel. I should have computed your carbon unit would be more resistant behind your shallow armor of yours. Of course, every organic life form has a breaking point, including your old man. That put Ryan in a state of shock, not in a literal sense. I can calculate that my colleague's wires and circuit would abduct him effortlessly. What? What do you know about my father? Here we go again. You'll have to perish in order to find out. Grimlord would pay handsomely for this. Time to shut you down, trooper. Let's see who's got nerves of stainless steel. He dealt with a bot that was taller than his henchman with its only electric shock, immobilizing him for a moment. Luckily, his VR armor was more resistant than Kid's scaly body. Trans's arms shot out several footballs, though Kid cried each one were wired for death. It also shot out some missiles as well. Ryan avoided the blows and challenged, Is that the best you got? Kit remembered the techies are weak against critical hits, so Ryan faced off manually using his default laser blade. He was about to unleash the final blow as it glowed. Ryan, wait! Dad? Yes, Ryan, listen. Don't destroy Trans Shooter. You must incapacitate him so he and his team can be reprogrammed. They work for Grimlord, but they're still part of the Mutant League. He sliced off his arms and legs, but it wasn't done yet. His last-ditch effort, wire sprung out of its open wounds, blinding and shocking the trooper. Flashing back to the time when Grimlord did the same lethal action, Kid managed to get back on his feet and threw a large nearby rock toward the current, disabling and even sliced some of the wires. They soon left the cavern before Trance activated an explosion. Kid felt he had some very sharp needles and pins coursing through him. Ryan felt the same. Did manage to communicate with his dad again, though Kid was the one who apologized about Train Shooter due to the extenuating circumstances. I've also picked up some readings that half of the techies have been decommissioned. We have to save the offense. This reminded Ryan of something as he urgently said, "Hurry, Dad! You gotta get out of here! Train Shooter said he sent a couple of the techies after you!" Unfortunately, he was cut off. The trooper was in deep thought. Kid kept asking what was the matter while he tried to snap him out of his reverie, and he made the crucial decision. Because of his many gallant efforts and being such a great ally to him, Ryan decided to give Kid permission to pilot the Blue Hawk and lead the assault on the Dark Fortress and the Sky Castle along with the other aliens who have their own reprogrammed saucers. Kid couldn't be any more ecstatic as he always wanted to fly his own ship and cause massive mayhem. Only against Grimlord, of course. Ryan called upon the VR combat module, an all-terrain cruiser made of two vehicles, the combination of the VR drill tank and the jet fighter, the Blue Hawk. It was conveniently stored inside the flying shuttlecraft form of Ryan's own VR shoulder cannon. He momentarily saw it soar to them and hover over the ground. "Ooh, this is so great! We can definitely vanquish that virtual dominator with this!" Despite Kid's giddiness, Ryan offered to give him a crash course in order to use it properly. It was his aerial fighter, after all. Kid gleefully contacted his kind. Unfortunately, they were too busy fighting off the ground units, and their numbers were dwindling. Mainly the rest of the techies, the lethal Despera, Doommaster, and the Vixens were the fatal culprits. During mid-flight, one way to settle the war, Ryan said, was to infiltrate Colonel Icebot's Sky Castle, where JB and Caitlin were. Kid was able to fire upon it, coated with bursting flames and dark thick smoke. Yahoo! The exterior damage was too much for the sinking fortress. They barely saw the 5 distressed stragglers wave to them. "There's JB and Caitlin! Hang on! I'll take the helm!" Ryan did just that. He offered the troopers to escape underneath as there were some pods awaiting them. There was one for both Snake and Caitlin, the other was for Claw and JB. They were able to escape in time as the Sky Castle plummeted. "Whoa! That certainly would make Icebot thaw and melt in there. Top one off for us." "You said it." Ryan offered Kid to fly solo while he assisted the armies below. The guys were finally deployed, and the techies and the last few powerful teams showed up, including the Deathskin Razors, Darkstar Dragons, and even reinforcements from the All-Pros and All-Stars. Although they were vigilant, they were still being scorched by Despera's scepter as well as the Dark Fortress. Ryan decided to let the two mutants and the troopers split up, letting the former assist their kind against the viral forces, while the latter team takes on Grimlord's field soldiers. Caitlin's unanimously volunteered to take on Despera, while JB would confront the mighty Doom Master. Both Caitlins rushed to the scene and hid behind a nearby rock dune. They saw the Wicked Witch on top of a tall cliff gleefully fire upon the hapless squads below. "There she is! I couldn't miss her." She then decided to formulate a plan to redeem herself while a partner would distract her aim. "Well, well, it's about time I deal with a formidable opponent, a VR trooper no less. It's about time too, Doom Master. Time to end this." The foot soldier did the same as he took out a broadsword of his own glowing in red energy. "So be it, trooper. I would admire sending you to the scrapyard. Enough talk. Let's do it. On guard!" He took some small steps, eyeing their every move with a keen vision. Doommaster and JB rushed into each other, and their blades sent some spectacular sparks flying as they clashed. Sparrow was literally having a blast sending the mutants to cinders till she was hit by a stray laser. "You! How dare you mess with my wardrobe! Not to mention intercept with my glorious wrath over these meddling mutants! Those mutants happen to be our friends. In order for me to protect them, you're gonna have to go through me first. Gladly, trooper." She dodged the rays with ease as she cartwheeled out of the way. She also kept on shooting her own projectiles, but Despera was too quick. She also levitated and done the same process as well. Ryan assisted in the fight against more Ultra Scuds and Techies, while Snake and the mutants got their hands full with the Vixens. Several of them actually fell in battle, and some of the skeletons' bones shattered and fell into rubble. The trolls tried their best to draw them back, yet despite their efforts, using their bulky bodies, they were still being powerless. Ryan pitched in as he saw another mutant get their limbs torn out. Then he used his laser pistol, to which they easily evaded. He closed in for the kill, and during the lethal close combat, 5 against 1, he noticed their powerful blows, mostly from the magnificent kicks, were made of plasma, hindering his armor. They were swift as lightning, and eventually it was too overbearing for him. He used his laser blade for offense and defense, as his hand-to-hand combat wasn't as strong as theirs. He kept holding his own, though he was beaten down multiple times. While the Vixens were being preoccupied on the single trooper, the group was taken down and bitten and scratched like crazy, turning them into the living dead, much like the skeletons. Ryan scurried out of the way so he wouldn't become an infected member of the Walking Dead, as penetrable as he was. He did go with a little smirk. Enjoy your hearty meal while you can. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Snake. I owe you one. You've already done enough, Steel. She then noticed Despair floating around and firing toward her targets. I'll show that succubus some manners! As the trooper made some more attempts to distract her, it was proven futile when Despera had the upper hand, floating around like a phantom and having better range. On top of that, her scepter itself was able to extend longer to reach her distant opponents. In fact, she made a direct hit on Caitlyn's armor, sizzling her left shoulder. She went down, stunned and wounded. The golden ghoul was knocked over the edge by an oncoming mutant. It was Snake! Despera rolled down the cliffside and gracefully landed on her stilettos. A swarm of skeletons charged toward her, and she wiped them out one by one. She then fixated on the trooper, who was struggling to get up. She aimed and fired, but it was the other Caitlyn that she hit in dead center. Doppelganger went down like a ton of bricks. She was willing to sacrifice herself while she shielded the original from the scepter. Caitlyn crawled to her side and saw the large steaming gash in her teammate's chest plate. No! After watching her die, Snake managed to leap on top of Despera, taking her down as well as make her lose her large helmet with the golden locks. She also landed a deep scratch upon Despera's face. She felt it. A scratch? Is that the best your pent-up rage can do? Such an inferior move. She yelled her scepter. You'll end up like your powerless friends in a pile of rotting metal and flesh. Not quite! She never revealed its intention and continued to avoid her wrathful strikes as the wound began to spread across her irritating face. It finally took effect, turning it into a fleshy blue as it was rotting away. The once female pharaoh's body soon became immobile, while she noticed her limbs were turning lifeless, as with the rest of her organs and body parts. At long last she dropped the staff. Caitlyn crawled slowly to grab it and aimed it toward Despera, noticing the snake scampered away. This is what you did to my double! Incinerating her instantly, hardly leaving anything in her wake. The Grimlord in his dark fortress fired back and hit the top of the scepter, dissipating it instantly. The alien saucers then shot upon it while Ryan approached the fallen double. Oh no! Knelt close to her and raised her head slightly. She let out a weak groan. Her powers and vitals were fading. Ryan and Caitlyn were watching in sadness side by side. The double held both hands. So let it end this way, guys. Finish off Grimlord. Do not let all realities fall under him, just as I did. She looked over at Ryan. Thank you for helping me see who he really is. Then to Caitlyn. I appreciated working with you. I know you can win this. lowered her head before she gradually disappeared and turned into dust that was taken by the wind. After that moment, Ryan slowly got back on his feet and declared to take the fight to him personally, while Caitlin would assist JB and the mutants. As he tried to comfort her, he was then intercepted by an audio transmitter. He then heard Grimlord. "Worth to make that sacrifice, trooper! Grimlord! I wouldn't make another move with your ruthless determination if I were you. As we speak, your puny comrades are falling one by one, including your extraterrestrial fleet. What do you want with me? You'll know once you get there, whether you'll be willing or not, Ryan Steele. I'll be waiting." Transmission was dead. He just looked up at the hopeless situation as each of the saucers were being eradicated by the fortress. He worried that Kid would be next. He looked at his ally, still struck by her loss. "Caitlin, I'm sorry, but I have to face Grimlord. I'll go alone from here." "What? Are you sure about this? Is your father trapped in there?" I have to do this by myself. I always wanted to finish Grimlord. He challenged me to meet with him inside the Dark Fortress. I'm sorry for being so selfish, but I have to do this. It's the only way to win this war." Oddly enough, she accepted. "If that's the way to do it, then so be it. I'll help out with the guys down here. Good luck, and hurry back. You'll be okay with Snake and her undead legion. It all comes down to this. Yeah, now off you go." He headed off. JB gave Doommaster everything he had, though his brute force nearly put him at an advantage. His own blade kept radiating that same omnipresent energy, eventually rendering the troop's sword feeble. His armor was also taking quite a beating while Doom's broadsword landed each hit. JB became weaker, though he still never gave up, which actually put him in more danger. In fact, he was so powerless that he failed to activate his laser lance command. Nothing seemed to have worked. Vulnerable, he went down in a heap after Doommaster landed another devastating blow. Seeing his friend in trouble, Bloodclot intervened as he tackled his lethal enemy down. "You want a piece of me?" Despite his weakened state, JB raised his sword. "Bloodclot, take this. Use the laser lance. It's our only hope." His hands didn't reach out for long. The superhuman took it before the black trooper dropped. His body became still and illuminated. Clot thought it would explode, but instead it just dematerialized. "No!" Doommaster just smiled. You think this is funny? Losing a friend like this? Nobody messes with my clan!" Memories of losing the Galaxy Aces and his coast rushed back to him, making his rushing blood boil. He activated the laser lance successfully and clashed against the Tyrant's own blade. It was almost like a Jedi fight with the intermixing of the red and blue hues. Through his rage, Bloodclot soon impaled Doommaster in the chest. He was electrocuted and lit up as bright as a Christmas tree. Clot backed away so far, knowing what'll happen next, as his enemy continued to wail. As he expected, he collapsed and burst into a towering inferno. Extra crispy with the laser lance. Just the way I like 'em. It's even better than smashing a souffle with a sledgehammer. I just love fights like that. Even more than I love mirrors. He admired the view of his greatest enemy's defeat. Fortunately, JB's living vessel was in an automatic retro form and wound up on the bed within the sacred chamber of Tao's dojo, feeling some discomfort as he slowly went up. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Ryan climbed onto the most tallest cliff. The atmosphere was thin, though he was still able to breathe with his armor. Thank goodness he was unable to fall off this time, which he did a few times. He looked up and saw the tiny dark fortress in plain sight. Before he had a chance to react, he was then beamed up. He soon arrived within the dark fortress while Kid and his cronies fired the impenetrable exterior just to slow it down. He took the tubular elevator down and emerged at the bottom, which had no doors. He continued his descent past the platforms, went through some corridors, and wound up in the wide main chamber. "Where are you, Grimlord?" "Ryan!" He then saw his father bonded against the red bank wall with his arms spread out. "Dad!" He stopped in his tracks. "Ryan, no! It's a trap!" As soon as he was about to rescue him, Grimlord intervened. "Welcome to my lair, Ryan Steele." "What have you done to him, Grimlord?" "Nothing yet, foolish boy. You should remember the last time we fought like this. You were as puny as an ant when I stripped you of your powers. You will be assimilated, and once I'm through with you, say farewell, Steele, and perhaps your treacherous father will enjoy all the fun." Just then he conjured and then released a strong wall intermixed with purple and black of violent dark energy. It was like dealing with intense gravity as Ryan tried to resist it. Grimlord then wagged his reptilian tail, raising his right hand, and shot an energy beam hitting Ryan directly, dissipating the barrier. He rolled and got back onto his feet and fought the ruler off with everything he had, including his own whipping iguana-like tail, and a few powerful energy beams left over by his first form. He also released some of his binding shocking wires to which Ryan's blade sliced apart. His throne floated slowly from time to time, avoiding the troopers' projectiles. At one time, Ryan used his laser pistol, though it was ineffective, as it absorbed them. As the intense battle wore on, Grimlord then unleashed a white spray onto Ryan's virtual armor, rendering him weakened. He actually remembered it was the same method that one of his toxic mutants, Amphibidor, used on him previously, to which he destroyed twice. Which, by the way, is actually the Season 2 premiere. "Ryan, you've been infected! You have to fight the viral slime!" It was actually the same way the techies succumbed to the damage to their circuits and put them in some hypnotic trance, making them subordinate to Grimlord upon capture, he said. What a coincidence, huh? He continued his rampage, thinking that the slime would have no effect. Until he also gave in to the damage in a matter of minutes. Left him vulnerable as the poisonous white substance assimilated his armor and mind, putting him in a sort of heavy daze. Taking advantage of the situation, Grimlord used the opportunity to manipulate his hallucinations, desiring him to kill his own dad. For when he abandoned him as a child, even when he grew up after 10 years, even when he was becoming a Darkheart, like father like son, he sneered. Ryan eventually caved in and slowly picked up his sword, making the hold more deeper. He marched up to him, and Tyler kept begging him to remember and fight back Grimlord's evil influence. From the times when he was training as a kid, using his teachings after 10 years, when the lab and Professor Hart were destroyed, saving him after being brainwashed as Darkheart and never losing faith, or attempting to save him after Grimlord barely took away his life. Even the powers he possessed now, when Tyler recovered with the healing crystal Tau possessed. All those memories returned, even when he was in the lab, reuniting with Tyler in virtual reality before it dissipated, even when he vowed to never stop looking for him, when the situation got bleak as Tyler was being banished back to the virtual dungeon. "I'm not afraid of you, Grimlord! No matter what you do, I'll never stop looking for my dad! Never! Do you understand? Can you hear me?" He even heard his father echo in his mind, although he was speaking to him. The past, and even in the dark times, are some of the things that makes us who we are. My past, it's real. Then say goodbye to your past, Ryan Steele. If you can't destroy your own father, then I shall do it myself. He immediately got in the way of his amazing onslaught. In his weak state, only his rage fueled him. Grimlord used everything he had, including throwing his sword like a spear, sprout tentacles from his throne to electrocute and bind him, blast lasers from the sphere on his helmet and create and blast electrical energies from his hands. While Ryan was enraged and just about to use his epic laser saber, his powers abruptly ran out. He was completely vulnerable. He transformed again. Trooper transformed! Oh! The reptilian tail strangled him, bringing him to his knees. Pyramid of Empowerment Absorption 100%. Goody! Mutants couldn't be more relieved. Finally! Jeez, took you long enough. I thought the suspense was gonna kill us. How long have we been waiting? I don't know, about an hour? That would take us as long for a corpse to decay. Speaking of decaying, we need to finish off Grimlord and destroy that prism. The structure itself looked hollow and just as translucent. It was completely emptied from all the evil ruler's essence, including Tyler's advanced knowledge. Let's kill! Hold on, you bloodthirsty mutant! What should we do with him? Pointed to the cage. Well, before we do that, shouldn't we just follow JB's orders in releasing the volatile energy before it can corrupt its circuits? I think I know just the place. She transported the bot and the mutants to virtual reality in the middle of the Void Club. They were about to follow through with JB's plan until she saw the immense spacecraft complete with its large wings and jagged exterior, almost as though it looked like a massive, sinister demon. Look! See that dark fortress up there? Location of Grimlord's stronghold confirmed. Aim towards that vile hunk of junk! Galileo's scanners were shot as the corrupt data blurred its vision. She'd tilted its head toward it, and she figured it'd be a way to disable the shields over the virtual fortress. Managed to lock on as the white target appeared over it. Turned red momentarily. Sheeta gave it the order to fire. A volley of lasers shot up, making the interior weak. When the process was complete, she squealed to return to reality if Grimlord should spot them. They then quickly returned back to the opaque building before the mutants did their own work. Fortunately, the pyramid-like crystal was destroyed by some destructive grenades, while the mutants and the others hurriedly escaped before the spark reached the tubular material. Although the top floor, as well as the gigantic window, began to blow, leaving no glass being shattered and raining down upon them. Shaken up along with several unsuspecting spectators, it was decided. Let's just get the hell out of here before somebody sees us. Good idea. He ran away from the once corrupt skyscraper just before it was being swarmed all around by emergency vehicles. Moments later, the quintet were walking with the tall tail between their legs in another segment of the confusing, bustling city. Aside from being guided by Galileo, they weren't the most dedicated. What a day. She held the tight iguana. Hey, at least we destroyed Grimlord to arrive at that zany Zector's base of operations. It's not that hard to believe that he was the one this whole time ruling over the virtual world and causing all this trouble here. Yeah, thanks for the news flash. I think we should just let this pet roam free. What? What, and let it wreak havoc with the wild? Forget it! He doesn't deserve it. Even Cheetah knew it was a bad idea. Well, if we can find Tao, maybe he can use him as a companion to keep him company? I guess the young trooper has a point there. After all, running a gym solo is never easy, especially when dealing with all those erratic kids. No offense. I mean, Ryan told us about his first day running it. It was quite entertaining to hear it. During the reverie, they suddenly heard a car. Turned out to be a shiny red punch buggy of sorts. Shut up! Beeped again. We've gotten as far as we can go. It honked again. All right, we'll walk in the mud. She let out a fifth as she stomped hard on it. Just then the automobile stopped, and the windows lowered. She noticed the dog passenger panting in the front seat, soon after the driver. Tao actually wanted to pick them up in the shiny red Great Wall Perry, accompanied by Jeb, could no longer talk. He questioned who the mutants were, and Cheetah sheepishly said they were just trick-or-treaters, acquaintances of the troopers. Yeah, we should get going. We need to see what they're up to. He pulled Gangrene's ear. As Tal was taking Cheetah and Galileo to the dojo, he said that JB was waiting for them. She was undoubtedly confused on what he was doing there. She also showed him his new pet iguana she just found. Tal knew from the get-go about the mutants and the VR troopers, putting Cheetah in a state of shock. Before she had a chance to react, Tal assured she didn't have to explain since he suspected about the kids as the VR troopers, as well as all the battles they fought since they were known to be heroes and individuals with pure hearts. He also figured as much since they first brought in Tyler to his secret stash of sacred crystals to help him get restored to full health. He parked the Perry in the dojo entrance. JB showed up in a moment's notice. JB! What happened to you? Relax, I'm okay. He and Tal were unloading his robot. He asked if she followed what he asked her to do. She affirmed it, and even he was a bit relieved that Tal knew everything about their secret identities, which were originally given by Tyler himself moments after his recovery. He also said there was a bomb scare at Ziktor Industries, and there's a possibility that he was caught in the blast, though the cause and the people responsible remains unknown. Either way, he deserved it for corrupting our city all this time. He knew exactly what to do with Tal's pet iguana. As they were heading inside, there was a lot to discuss, including the destruction of the Pyramid of Powerlessness. It's now up to the Steels. Tal made a silent prayer. With that, Grimlord's body started to deform. He took notice of it. What? What is happening? He was finally sapped away from his dark powers and was rendered back to his human form, as Karl Ziktor himself. This was the first time the Steels made the official connection, although Ryan was still weak. Outside, one of the aliens declared, "The shields are down. Lock on target and destroy the Dark Fortress." No! Ceasefire! Ryan and Tyler Steele are still up there! Ryan continued to struggle and reach in a snail's pace. Ziktor had one last nasty surprise. He drew out a metallic mount from its interior coat pocket, aimed a pistol toward the duo and clicked it. Ryan stopped short and the powerless Grimlord threatened to shoot them for destroying his avatar, and always interfering with his conquest. Dad, I'll take the blow. One of us has to die first. I'm the one he wants. No problem. Bluehawk aimed at the uppermost portion, hoping not to hit the Steels. Then he fired a few lasers onto the now defenseless Dark Fortress, bursting a large opening over the main room. The impact startled the three occupants, and the Steels were excited to see Ryan's own fighter jet. Kid! Seeing Ziktor reaching for his pistol, he let out a statement. Now to say one more thing to that evil overlord. Sayonara, sucker! Ha 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 ha! Yes! After his brief victory, when he exited the cockpit and spun like a teal tornado, he gently patted the injured Ryan's hand before he used his claws to slice Tyler's spines apart. Great work, kid. That should be the end of Grimlord. It'll be the end of us if we don't get out of here! Wait, Ryan! He was away. With his sore neck and weak body, however, Ryan stood up slowly, then hesitated while Tyler and Kid were climbing aboard. He discarded the virtualizer, and the place continued to blow all around him more violently than ever. Ryan! Come on! At first, he felt like he wanted to go down with the ship, to make a self-sacrifice as the final end to Grimlord and his suffering. A huge blast erupted, causing the Blue Hawk to separate from the devastating spacecraft. When the smoke cleared a little, even though it formed a dark stack, they lost sight of the doomed trooper. He found a broken window, then he paused again, wondering if this was right, or would be cut to ribbons. Risking to take either chance, he leapt out before the entire vessel was covered in flames. Tyler and Kid barely saw him as he hit himself hard along the way down. Ryan! Blue Hawk caught almost immediately as Kid put it into full throttle. He then steered it clear from the exploding fortress before he even crashed into it. Everyone on the ground cheered as the dark fortress was obliterated, almost like an enormous firework performing a grand finale. The Blue Hawk landed easily along with the other saucers afterwards. And here are the songs for that. Da-da-da. Everywhere else could use the default music such as Virtual Cavern. So this isn't the last chapter, despite having the epic fights with Grimlord and his cronies. More is yet to come, so stay tuned for that. Until then, this is the Ecron Writer signing out. And hopefully I'll have time for this.